Welcome to my channel, The Three Mountains. Today we continue with part 2 of Identity, Values and Image by Master Samael Aun Weor. If we eliminate the egos from our interior, then we can become vehicle for new values, the values of the being. In order to do this, we need a didactic if we are to change. In truth, we need an intimate psychoanalysis. We are trying to transfer our attention inwards in order to discover the egos inside us. Yes, and I put an image here of somebody doing meditation, trying to see inside. Now, when a person appeals to the intimate psychoanalysis, one looks inside himself or herself in an introspective way in order to learn about his or her psychological defects, but a big obstacle comes up. I am referring emphatically to the counter-transference force. Counter-transference means when one projects onto people our own egos, such as feelings, negative emotions, and ideas, according to our own past experiences in an unconscious way. We are not to blame. We blame others for our life, for the situations we find ourselves in, our failures, our mistakes, etc. And I put this image, yes? So somebody else outside us is to be blamed. One can self-investigate inside himself or herself. One can introvert himself, herself. But whenever someone tries to do this, the difficulty of the counter-transference force emerges. So the huge task. The point is to direct our attention inwardly in order to self-explore ourselves, so that we can get knowledge of ourselves and eliminate the egos or negative values that harm us psychologically in the social, economic, political, and spiritual aspects. Sadly, whenever someone tries to introvert himself in order to self-explore, immediately the counter-transference comes up. Yes? It is a force that becomes an obstacle for the introversion. If the force of counter-transference did not exist, then introversion would be much easier. We do need of the intimate psychoanalysis, of the intimate self-investigation in order to really get to know ourselves. Let us remember the Greek philosopher Thales of Miletus. Noscete ipsum. Know yourself and you will know the universe and the gods. Now, in the astral, the many egos we carry can be shown to us like this. And these are my examples, yes? For example, if you see a peacock, yes? The many eyes around the peacock are symbolic for the eyes of the egos that we carry around us too. Yes, another way. Masks, yes? When we grow the personality, we are only adding masks to our collection of masks we already have in our psychology. And here we have a football stadium full of people, yes? And when I investigate a single person in his or her astral, I have come across this amount of egos inside the person. The same number of people as a football stadium can hold. Now the master continues by saying, as long as we do not know ourselves, any change becomes impossible. We need a self-analysis. How do we defeat the counter-transference force? This is possible by means of the transactional analysis and the structural analysis. Now, the transactional analysis, and this is my picture, yes? So we have 3 circles. One is parent, adult, and child. So the first one is the parent ego state. Behavior, thoughts, and feelings copied from parents, from our parents, or parent figures. The adult ego state is behavior, thoughts, and feelings which are a direct response to here and now. And the child ego state, behavior, thoughts, and feelings replayed from childhood. Yeah. It is important that you become alert to the states that you enter according to the situation you face. And I give you examples. The first one, the adult in the child. Claire, for example, when recalling her father's rule, it's good to do what you will say that you will do, because people will think that you are a grown-up, so don't be a child. Now Claire recalls the terrifying mixture of feelings and thoughts. If I don't do what I say I'll do, people who look after me won't like me. They will abandon me and I will be all alone. Although this was formed when she was a child, the intense power of this can still affect her when she is an adult. So here Claire is an adult who has become a child again. Example number 2. Claire now talking to one of the employees. If you can keep beating your targets, the board will be impressed. Here Claire is displaying the parent ego state and the controlling parent state. This is a child to parent transaction. So here she has assumed the role of a parent. Example number 3. This is an example of child ego state. Claire has been given a report deadline. She must hand it in by the end of next week. When she gets the news, she breaks out in a cold sweat, feels sick and thinks, I'll never get it in by then. Everybody will think I'm stupid and laugh at me. Although she is an efficient, responsible manager, she reacts as she did as a child when she was told off in front of a class for not doing the homework. Example number 4, example of an adult ego state. I enter a pub and I ask for a drink. I smell cigar from a group of men who are drinking and smoking. I recall when I was a teenager and my dad smoked, but did not allow me to smoke nor drink. But I am an adult now and nobody can stop me. I can drink and smoke as much as I want. The same as they are doing it, I can do it. I'm an adult now. So here the adult ego state kicks in. We tend to copy and absorb behavior from other adults we meet in our daily lives. In this way, the egos from outsiders are spread from person to person non-stop and onto us unless we restrain ourselves. Now my example. I am in the physical and I have an exam to hand in. Suddenly I experience fear, sweat and tension arises in me, even when I know all the answers in the exam. I do not understand why. Why do I feel this way, I wonder. Later at night, I was shown the reason for my strong emotions in the astral. This is the image. In the astral, I'm back in the past. And there is my teacher, my English phonetics teacher. And the exam is going on. And she was very strict and difficult to please. And here I am. I'm very scared, tense, and afraid of failing. Yeah. So I am in the astral, but I am in the past, back to my university days. I'm sitting writing an exam and terrified of failing the teacher. Terrified that my English phonetics teacher will start to think that I'm not good enough to be in her class. And terrified to fail my family too. Although I am a responsible student, this ego of fear came back from my past, yes, to now. Or I was allowing this fear to grow in me again now after so many years. So according to the transactional analysis, this is the child in the adult, I would guess. So through dreams, we get to know exactly what is our problem, why we become tense, worried, scared at a given situation. Now, according to structural analysis or structuralism, we need to examine our own thoughts through introspection. Introspection is the examination of one's own conscious thoughts and feelings. In psychology, the process of introspection relies exclusively on observation of one's mental state. Introspection is closely related to human self-reflection and is contrasted with external observation. So introspection generally provides a privileged access to one's own mental states, so that an individual experience of the mind is unique. Introspection can determine any number of mental states, including sensory, bodily, cognitive, emotional, and so forth. Introspection has been a subject of psychological discussion for thousands of years. Now, the philosopher Plato asked, why should we not calmly and patiently review our own thoughts and emotions and thoroughly examine and see what these appearances in us really are? So I agree with Plato. If we review our emotions and thoughts like I did, the answer will come up in the astral. Now we have Socrates' statue here. Yeah. And Socrates quotes. But we're going to read these quotes in an esoteric way, yes? So he says, I call myself a peaceful warrior because the battles I fight are on the inside. So this quote is an allusion to battling our egos with the help of our Divine Mother. Another quote, only the knowledge that comes from inside is the real knowledge. So as the egos go dying, our being will express stronger and stronger with true knowledge through us. We are what we think we are. I say here, be careful to let the ego mind loose. Refrain the chattering mind. Remember Shakespeare when he speaks of the being. The question is to be or not to be. Yes, that is the question. The realization of the being in each one of us is the goal to achieve one day. Another quote, the highest realms of thought are impossible to reach without first attaining an understanding of compassion. I remember here Master Jesus' words for walking the path to liberation. Whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first amongst you must be last. Great men never place themselves higher than others. Humility is key here for attaining higher spiritual knowledge. Now, Master Samael continues by saying, when someone makes use of the transactional analysis and the structuralism, then the difficulty for psychological introspection ends. Afterwards, he can self-explore the myself, the egos inside us, with success. And whoever can reach a complete self-exploration in order to analyze any particular defect or ego, anger, greed, lust, envy, pride, laziness, gluttony, etc., then he can make great psychological advancements. Remember that every time a defect is disintegrated, it releases a percentage of spiritual essence. As we go eliminating each one of our false values or egos, our defects, then the spiritual essence will be freed. Finally, when it is completely freed, the psychological essence will transform us completely. At that precise moment, the eternal values of the being will be manifested through us. Unquestionably, this would be wonderful, not only for ourselves, but for the whole of humanity too. Now, I say that this statement of the Master is true. Last weekend, my son and I we visited a nearby town. It was his birthday. And when I got there, I found myself in a square called Diamond Square. And that night, I also found diamonds like these ones on my path. Yes, they were like that. And this is the image. So I am in the astral and I am collecting these diamonds. And I think I'm going to pick them up and sew them on my dress at home when I get home. Diamonds are the virtues or the values of the being that will replace the egos when the ego dies inside us. The Master continues by saying, When someone gets to disintegrate or to dissolve the negative values, unquestionably, he or she will respect himself and will respect others. He becomes a fountain of kindness for all the world. He becomes a perfect creature, conscious, wonderful. That mystic self-image, let us say, of an awakened man, will become, as a consequence, into the perfect image of a noble citizen. Her circumstances will be beneficial in all senses. He will become a link of gold in the great chain of life. He will become an example for the rest of the world, a fountain of happiness for many beings, an enlightened one in a complete sense of the word, someone who will enjoy continuous and delicious ecstasies. Up to here, and I see you in my next video. Thanks for watching.